Hi there, this is Haley with Bygone Blooms. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. We're going to be direct sowing some brassicas and lettuce and beets and radishes and that kind of thing. It is the end of the first week in March here in Northwest Arkansas, where we're a zone 6B or 7A depending on the year. This year, as a lot of us have experienced, we're having a really mild winter and hopefully an early spring. So I'm going ahead and getting these things in the ground, even though our last frost is still over a month away. Our last frost in our area is usually at the end of April. So the things I'm growing today, I'll put on the screen for you. I have some, I believe it's Chihoga beets that I got from Baker Creek. I have some romaine lettuce, some Chinese broccoli, yellow heart winter choy, Brunswick cabbage, a radish blend, some Nero de Toscana cabbage, some Swiss chard, the salad bowl mix lettuce from M.I. Gardner, half long Guernsey parsnips, and Japanese mustard. And I also have some kale in here somewhere. I have a kale trio that was just some seeds that I saved from the past years. So I have blue curled Scotch, Premier, and red Russian kale in this pack as well. So the reason that I'm going ahead and planting these, even though it's not past our last frost yet, is that here in Northwest Arkansas, we sometimes go straight from winter to summer. We don't have much of a spring, and if you're in an area where you get a lot of cool temperatures in the spring that are just above freezing, you may not want to sow your things this early. But for us, this is an opportunity to hopefully get a harvest. If we jump straight into summer, these things won't produce very much. I do have some lettuce that I had in a tray outside that I'll be adding as well. I had those in soil blocks and they're ready to go out as well. So I'm just throwing a little bit of everything in the ground, and where I'll be planting these is in my market rows. I have a spot where I'm doing zinnia and sunflower successions that I won't have anything in that space for a little while I'm waiting. So I'm planting my first couple rows of zinnias and sunflowers at the very end of April when our last frost happens, hopefully past our last frost so that they can survive. And then it'll be every couple weeks I'll be adding more, but it won't be until like mid to late May that I'm ready to finish up my successions, and that I'll need this space. So I'm just using the space that I already have planned out for something else that I know I'll be doing successions in later for this, I guess, cold season, these lettuces and parsnips and beets and radishes and that kind of thing. So you'll see that what I'm doing is just making rows with my hori-hori knife and just going ahead and plugging each of those seeds into the ground. I'll water those in here in just a little bit to make sure that they're ready. I am doing drip irrigation in this in these rows, but I haven't done it yet. So I'm planning on just relying on the rain and my watering can for this small patch that I'm going ahead and starting. You can see from the footage of me planting my seeds that it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just using my hori-hori knife, and what this is, it's kind of dirty since I just brought it in from outside, but this is a knife that has measurements at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 inches. It has lines so you know how deep you're going, and it also has a serrated edge. It is pretty sharp, but I really like this for planting because you can dig straight into the ground rather than using a shovel. You can just cut straight down, and I can tell based on the measurements on my knife how far I'm getting my seeds. You may have noticed that the compost in my market beds is not fully broken down. I just got the unsifted compost from the city because it was free. It does have some pieces of mulch, and I'm just pushing those aside with my hori-hori knife as I'm making my little rows, I guess, for each seed. I'm placing the seed marker with the title of what it is at the end of each row, so I know it goes from the very end of my row all the way to that point, and then at that point on it will start further out for the next thing. You'll also notice that I'm not being super meticulous. I'm planting a lot of seeds because these are all seeds that are old. None of them are from this year. Some of them I've had 3 or 4 or more years. Seeds have an expiration date on them, and that just is the timeline that the seller has to sell them by. That does not mean that they won't produce anything. So their germination rate goes down as they get older, but you can still get germination from old seeds. So I would never throw away seeds just because they're past their expiration date. That does not mean anything really to you as a gardener. And what I do when I've had seeds for multiple years, sometimes 3 or 4 years, is I just plant a few extra. And my plan is that if all of them germinate, I'll just thin out any extras I have. And if they don't all germinate, then that's okay because I planted them extra close. And that also helps when you have pest pressure. If you have little bugs that are trying to eat your seedlings, if you plant them a little thicker together, when you're direct sowing, you have more of a chance of more of them surviving if you plant more of them. So I'm just making my ditches, I guess, or rows that my seeds are going into. The seedling depth is usually based on the size of the seed, and all of these seeds are fairly similar. It's not exact, it's not perfect. There are some chunks in my compost. Again, it's not perfect. And you might be wondering if you've watched my other videos about how there's cardboard underneath and compost on top. But as the season progresses and as the cardboard gets rained on and I water it and the soil helps to break it down, the compost will get soft, and so the roots can just grow straight through it. Right now it's fairly firm because I just planted it, but I'm planning on watering my seedlings, and that will help the compost to break down as well. Additionally, because these seedlings are only going to be in the ground for maybe a couple of months, they don't need that deep of root space. Now my beets and parsnips and things like that will want to try to burrow into the compost, and they'll be able to push their way through with their roots. It shouldn't be any issue. Thank you so much for growing with me. I hope this was an encouragement to you that even if you don't have the ideal conditions, you can always try to start something. In the years past, I've had really great success with the giant mustard, and also with arugula. My husband made fun of me because our lettuce that grew, it was only spicy lettuce, the arugula and mustard. But the goal this year is to add more successes to that as well. So thank you so much for growing with me, and I hope that you're excited to go plant something as well.